Welcome back, guys, to another Minecraft podcast. This is part 9 of the Origin Update series, where we talk about a possible update to early game, which ends when iron is obtained. We hold these voice chat sessions on our Discord server, and there are also text channels to brainstorm ideas and discuss virtually any topic related to Minecraft. So if you want to be a part of that, feel free to join. As before, the timestamps are in the description if you wish to jump to a specific conversation. Today I am being joined by Martijn de Backer. My name is Cameron, and this podcast will focus on dynamic villages.
Villages should have a function in the world. So beach villages would, the primary function is of course that you can buy and sell items there, which are actually related to the place they generate in.
Oh wow, that's revolutionary. Things sell things next
and
to where they get the resources.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense to have a tie-in with progression more. It's like a safe haven, literally, because it's a haven. It's probably safe. But yeah, the beach villas, they generate on the beaches. They don't have a well because, oh well, there's already water everywhere. They don't need to get more water. I mean, all water is drinkable anyway.
In Minecraft.
So they get a good fireplace they can use to look really cool and sit around.
Wait, what are the blocks burn infinitely? Magma does. Maybe they could have collected magma from the ocean. That would make sense.
That's right, and that's why there's magma in those fire pits.
It kind of fits more on the color scheme of fire rather than netherrack.
I thought, magma just looked really fitting. I think it looks like hot coal, like burning coal, smoldering coal.
It looks like cheese or honey.
What? If you say so. The beach village can generate on the beach. The well generates on the center of the village generates on the beach, but from that point on, it could just generate in all directions. Well, since the water is a big open area, the majority of the village would, of course, be on the water. But if it wouldn't, the houses that aren't, they just generate like they would normally, like a regular plains village, for example.
Yeah, I think that would be good. What about your dynamic villages?
Oh man, that's a long post. It's going to be a long talk. Right, so villages are boring. I said it. I mean, what? Okay, well, tell me what you do if you see a village. How do you feel?
I feel blessed. I get all the houses and mine them all up, and then...
Exactly, Cameron, you destroyed the entire village.
Villages really just reflect ourselves.
I tried to live with them, you just destroyed your houses. Multiple times, every time you play. So yeah, it's fair to say that people don't really consider villagers as humans in any way. They're just exploitable. No one likes them.
Yeah.
So I thought, what can we do to make villagers more likable, more lively, and to make the player actually feel at home in a village? Well, my idea is a more dynamic way of assigning professions and careers to villagers. The idea is that a villager without a profession is a nitwit, and if there's room for a new profession in the village, then the nitwit will change his clothing to that new profession and career. Because, let's see, professions are the much bigger category, like producers, and the producers are divided into farmers, fishermen, and butchers. Producers are the biggest part of a village because everyone needs food, and they produce food, or they gather food in some way. And the way they do it is simple. A village has an economy, okay? I'm really confusing a lot of parts of my post up because I'm trying to say it all.
The thing is with making villages more lively by adding more things that they do with each other. Like, how much of that would the players be able to interact? Like, you don't really need to have an economy if it doesn't really... Like, you could give the illusion of an economy by making the prices go up and down, but you wouldn't need to, like, make it based off everything that's actually happening in game. It's kind of like saying, Oh well, like how they said that Endermen are they can be in the end, they can be in the Nether because they're dimensional hoppers. But if you like see an Enderman teleport into the Nether, it doesn't necessarily mean that there was an Enderman in the end that teleported there. It just gives the illusion of that. Same with the Endermites. They didn't code an entire in between dimension. They just made it so that Endermites spawn.
Yeah, of course, but that's because you don't have to do that. The economy actually has a massive impact, and well, if there's no economy, you can't impact it. But there is an economy, and the player can actually impact it himself. So your choices actually matter. An economy is just, yeah, a village keeps track of all the items that are within it. Some items will be consumed, well, all items will be consumed over time simply by trading or by eating them for like food, or by using them to make more products. Like leather will be consumed by leather workers if he makes leather armor. And iron will be consumed by blacksmiths if they make tools with them.
I see.
Well, similarly, the prices also depend on how often you might see an item in a village. So if the village only has a single plot of farmland, then the prices for wheat are very high.
So there wouldn't be an official inventory, especially in things for iron, because it's not like the villagers would go mining or anything. And also iron isn't renewable unless you make a golem farm.
Yep, that's absolutely true. I'll get to that
Okay.
very late in the post, so I'll probably move it up a bit. But village keeps track of all the items that are within it. By default, it's just a few items like wheat and seeds and all other crops.
Okay.
Oh, and also it's really cool, but if a village doesn't have an item, the prices are immensely high. So if you find a village with beetroots and wheat, you're gonna get very high prices if you bring them carrots or potatoes. That's another thing. The trades should go both ways. Does it make sense that you do a farmer's job and get paid by him? Yes, it does. But does it make sense that you can't pay the farmer to do his own job? No, not at all. That makes no sense. You should go both ways with the trade. You just open the tab, you give him some items, he gives you emeralds, you give him an emerald, he'll give you the items.
They should work both ways, although maybe not completely symmetrically. Because they're cheap.
Well, no, but if he's got too many items, he won't ask for any more, but he will still sell them.
Ah, so that could be a more organic way instead of just locking off the trade if you give them too many in one go.
Yeah, but you can just buy him for some bread from him, and then he'll have less wheat, because he'll use the wheat to make bread. And you have bread, he has money.
But if you kept
and
doing
you're back
that,
to
wouldn't you
beginning,
lose?
really.
Wouldn't you lose money though?
Like, you sell him wheat. He'll be like, yeah, stop it. I got enough wheat. You just buy bread using the emeralds you just made. Then you're back to zero emeralds, say. It's not entirely like that, but just assume you're back to zero. But now you got bread instead of a bit of wheat. Then you can give him some more wheat, and you can keep the next emeralds because you don't need any more bread yourself.
I actually really like the idea of an economy now. Like if it works that way, the one in Tango Tech was slightly too realistic and had a little bit too much going in behind the scenes. But I think your one strikes a nice balance with how they interact with the player versus what they do behind the scenes, and how the things that they do behind the scenes actually impacts the player. And also a lot of the economy is regulated just by what is in circulation rather than like a whole lot of other stuff, and it's usually kept to the minimal, like what you're talking with about farming. So yeah, I do like the idea, and also it would kind of make people try and optimize villages in a good way rather than a bad way, because if, for example, if you lock the villagers up, then they can't go farming and they can't do any work. So you wouldn't be able to have villager jails, prisons.
Exactly. Well, you can't make factories where they're just a part of the factory. They're not a machine. They're people, man.
Yeah.
Come on, leave them alone.
Yeah.
No, but the truth is, they can produce everything a village needs, except for iron, redstone, glowstone, all the fancier stuff.
Yeah.
But producers include farmers, fishermen, and butchers. A butcher will need the farmer, because the butcher will automatically make animals that are within the village breed with each other. So you'll never run out of animals,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he'll also butcher animals if he's low on flesh, on meat.
I see.
And yeah, because of this, he'll actually use a wheat to breed cows, for example. So he'll go to the farmer to buy some wheat. And he'll also buy bread from the farmer because he needs to eat himself. And maybe he's just sick of meat. I don't know. You ask him. But the truth is, food is automatically consumed, but it's also produced automatically in the village. So it feels really lively, dynamic, real, you might even say.
You even have an incentive to protect a village, because if you let a creeper blow up all your farms, or if all the animals die, then you won't be able to trade for that specific thing. That, or you could
it will even have
artificially
a much
regulate it.
bigger impact. You won't be able to trade with the butcher because he's running out of meat, but you also won't be able to trade with the leather worker because the leather worker buys his leather from the butcher.
Yeah, it could have such impacts. And also you could kind of manipulate them. So like if you want really low prices, then you just go and slowly introduce a whole lot of things.
Exactly. You can just make massive farms and there's enough food for everybody. And it's a really happy place.
Just imagine this being implemented into the Minecraft Education Edition. People saying, hey look, we're teaching you how to be dirty capitalists.
Or you could, kind of inflate prices. Maybe if you're the only person that can sell iron, for example, that might be beneficial to you.
Monopolies.
The prices are really high when you first start selling them iron, but after some points they'll have enough iron, so the price will be way lower. For that, since everything they can't produce themselves, there's a traveling merchant. The traveling merchant spawns outside of a city, so it's not a career really.
On a horse?
It's still. He spawns outside of the city, and he'll just wander in the city, trades goods, and once he's out of goods, he'll leave again.
Okay.
Well, he'll despawn again.
That sounds nice.
But yeah, he just restocks everything the village needs, but only after the player himself has unlocked those trades.
Oh, I'd actually like that. That would be cool.
So if you trade some iron with a blacksmith, all of a sudden the village, the farmers can now have iron hoes and whatever they need. But that'll also mean they'll need iron again, and maybe the player just doesn't want to get more iron for villagers. Well, since you've already unlocked iron, the traveling merchant will now sell iron to the villagers.
Which means that you could help villagers progress by themselves. So, for example, maybe if you sell them, I don't know, bricks, they could, I don't know about making them rebuild their structures. That sounds a bit weird. But you could, like, make them more civilized. If you sell them a lot of iron, they might start selling you other kind of related things. And maybe you could even kind of get some really good items just through kind of developing a village's technology and economy.
Exactly. But, fishermen, they don't just provide food for the village, but they also, if they fish up a trash item, they'll just vanish because it's useless. But if they fish up a treasure item, they'll just sell it to the right villager.
You mean fish up a junk item and it gets rid of, and then if they fish up a treasure item, it'll be like a special trade.
Yeah, there will be a special trade, but only for one. After that, the trade will just disappear again.
Okay, but does the villager actually
really
need to?
Time offers.
Does the villager actually need to mimic the fishing, like exactly what it picks up, or could it have a fishing animation? So like you can see that it's fishing, and then it just auto generates all the loot as it was fishing. Yeah, so you don't need anything to like.
But it looks like it's the same. For you, it functions the same.
Yeah. You don't need to know
But
that
the trade
it's not
will
actually
not
happening.
just vanish from the fisherman if you buy him. No, the villager also has his own. He can think on his own accord. If he doesn't find a good trader with you, he'll just sell it to the. Say he fishes up a magic book, then he'll go and sell it to the librarian. If he fishes up a saddle, he'll go to the leatherwork and sell it there.
And yeah, also making villagers possibly withhold trades, not just for selling for other villagers, but just because they want to hold on to their supply.
Yeah, of course. Like a villager won't sell off all his bread because he also needs to eat himself.
Just steal all their bread. Say, look, have all these emeralds. It is only when the last morsel of bread is eaten, will we realize that we cannot eat emeralds. He gave us what we needed, what we want. No, he gave us what we wanted, but not what we needed. Our greed has destroyed our society.
Villagers are smarter than that. I mean, you got the forehead the size of a melon.
Yeah, fair enough.
And there's some other mechanics as well, aside from just a really dynamic world. There's also some more professions and careers you might find in a village. For example, the Fletcher, it's already a thing. He just sells arrows, and that's it. Well, what if he could also, of course, pick up arrows from skeletons? That's where he gets his arrows from. And he can also make arrows himself if you give him some flint. He doesn't need any other item, just flint. He's magic. Just can conjure wood and feathers out of flint. No, he still needs feathers. Right? Let's say feathers and flint. That's all he needs.
Yeah, that's
So he can get the feathers from the butcher and get the flint from the player, or from the traveling merchant.
What about potentially
Well, he'll
making...
sell you arrows, but that's really all he does.
Okay.
He sells arrows, he wants flint and feathers from you, or he'll find it on his own accord. But once you have a cleric, he'll also start selling tipped arrows of positive effects, because the cleric should sell positive potions, I think. But only once you've unlocked the potions at the cleric using glowstone. With glowstone being the indication that the player has at least gone to the nether. So that doesn't really hinder progression. It's not really a big deal to hinder progression, but it also, if progression also gives the player a sense of accomplishment.
A sense of pride and accomplishment, I see.
So once the cleric has potions available, thanks to you, that means the Fletcher can also have tipped arrows. And if the Poisonmaker, which is a new career, it's like the cleric, but the opposite. It makes all negative effects using ingredients. And you also sell cursed books instead of enchanted books.
They already kind of do that, which is kind of annoying. Like, they're like, yes, pay emeralds for this enchanted book that's got curse of binding on. I'm like, what?
Yeah, why?
That's literally the only enchantment on there.
It's so stupid, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, if you find a poison maker in the town, which it's a career you can only get if you already have a librarian, and you have to go sell him some glowstone. You can sell the cleric, and the cleric will automatically trade the glowstone with the poison maker. And then he'll have potions, and the potions he'll trade with the Fletcher, and the Fletcher will make it into tipped arrows. So you can really see how your actions have a massive impact on the community.
Definitely. I was also thinking we could kill two birds with one stone by making villages a sort of pseudo-automation. So, for example, gold farms, emerald farms, any sort of farm, it requires a lot of exploiting of spawning and things. But if you want to farm things that are kind of less hard, or like, for example, if you want to farm saddles, but you can't exactly do that, you'd need an AFK fishing farm. Just like general loot, it would be nice to be able to expand, like if you're short on something, just kind of change the economy of a village so that it tends to produce more of that.
Exactly, yeah. That's why I dislike AFK farming so much, because it's little input once you've built it. But yeah, with the village, you can still get everything you need, but it will feel less cheap. Like, you can just trade for them, you work for them, but it feels like it's actual people that have worked for them. It feels like it's not just all automated, which it is, of course, but it feels at least like someone has put input in it, and you pay him for his work, and you get something out of it.
Yeah, it just makes
But
more
then again,
sense.
you didn't get your emeralds exactly fair, because while you didn't make an emerald farm, you did kind of shoot off the entire village so that only you can sell the iron.
You exploited them. And even though they've shown signs of a very advanced growth, it was all because of you and your desire to make them your slaves.
I'll say not iron, because then you'd have to work for iron. Let's say you destroy other farms.
No.
You're the only one. No, wait, you're the only one selling them beetroot, but they don't have beetroot seeds, so they can't plant it themselves.
Destroy all their water and then sell them bottled water.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Protection. Villagers are useless at protecting themselves. You need to protect them all the time. They're like little toddlers. Sure, they can open doors, but that's it. They don't even run away from the player if you stab them with a sword 2 times.
Mob AI does need a general
A real
overhaul, which was
person
talked
also
to
wouldn't
before.
walk away if you stab him with a sword 2 times, but he'll attempt it. And also, if they're on fire, they're just like, yeah, this is fine. Everything's good.
Yeah.
They should be running to the water.
Yeah, they should at least have some sort of self-preservation.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and also, if your popularity in a village is really low, like down to the bottom, you're known as a serial killer, you've burnt down villages, you've punched children, villagers will actually run away at sight. But also, they'll throw their arms in the air. You know, like how Summoner throws his arms in the air when he runs away? Like that. Like they're terrified.
Or they'll just put their arms in a rotating position, just go.
They just throw them in the air, like screaming out loud. Oh God, here we come!
Or like the running animation that players used to have, how their arms would flail about.
Yeah,
just edit that back in. That would actually be hilarious if you just walk towards this building and they start flailing their arms and running away.
So, you know, it doesn't make the villagers like one-directional. It doesn't mean that the player has to be a good citizen and upgrade everything. No, it can also mean you can be a psychopath just like you were before, but you can actually see the impact of that.
Well, I know that Notch's original comments on villagers were like, you can either choose to help them or hinder them. And I mean, like, they don't really, as they're implemented now, there isn't really much point in hindering them except to get loot, and much point helping them unless you build a villager farm. And I think it would be nice if they did have more self-protection, because even though people say, oh, but then villagers would be fully functional, the whole point of villagers is to curate it. But if you're already curating it via the economy, then you wouldn't need to protect it like you normally do now.
Well, you can have a choice. If you don't give them iron, they don't have the iron to build the tools. If you don't give them an oven, they won't produce. The village won't produce a blacksmith. You know, someone with a blacksmith profession. And if they don't have a blacksmith, they also can't have the career of the toolsmith. And the toolsmith, you need him to make hoes and shears, all the items the villagers need. And if you have a toolsmith, you can also then that means you can have a weaponsmith. And the weaponsmith, he just basically provides everyone with swords. So if you only have a toolsmith in a village, that means the butcher can defend himself using an axe because he uses the axe for killing the pigs. Or the farmers will use a hoe, and the rest of the villagers, they're still pretty helpless. They can only use their fists. But once you get a weaponsmith, then everything is getting good. Then all the villagers all of a sudden have stone swords. And then you can trade him some iron, and they all get iron swords. And you trade him some gold, and everyone gets golden swords. Or even up to diamond.
That would actually be really cool. I'm liking the suggestion even more.
Yeah, but they'll still prefer running away, of course, because they're cowards, and you know they'll definitely die if they were to run outside of their house. But if a zombie were to break in, for example, they'll still defend themselves.
I don't think it's cowardice. It's love for life.
So, well, small villages, they'll just be good because they can defend themselves using swords.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of self-defense. I know in karate they always say, just do the minimum that you can to disarm your opponent, and if you have enough time to turn around and run away, then do so.
Exactly. You just want to live in peace and be left alone. But if the village population is big enough, then that means you don't need all of them. So some are just left over. They don't need to produce food. They already got blacksmiths in the city. Oh, what did they do? Well, they can just start a career out of defending the villagers. That's how you get guards. The guards will stay outside during the night. They'll have a much higher regeneration than regular villagers. Maybe the same as the humans, I'd say, as a player. So that they can actually stay outside. Well, if you got you need a weaponsmith in order to get guards. And you also need a leather worker. Yeah. So that's 2 careers you need. And of course, for the leather worker, you also need a toolsmith and a butcher. And for the iron, the weaponsmith, you also need a toolsmith. So you have to get a pretty good established village first. But after some point, you get guards. And guards are really funny because they don't trade. Or do they? They don't. They don't trade. But you can't bribe them. I'll be coming to that in a moment.
Oh, that would actually be awesome. And it would also help with reputation. Like, if you've got a great reputation, then maybe you can bribe guards. And it also helps, and with, like, really the only way you can increase your reputation in a village is by trading with the highest tier on a village's trade slot. But if you could do it in other ways by strengthening their economy or...
Yeah, by providing items they don't have, then you'll be popular.
Definitely.
So it's really easy to get high popularity. Oh, and maybe the trade should also depend on popularity. Like, you can get better trades.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Well,
But, no,
that's
I
what I
mean,
was thinking.
Better prizes.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get too RPG-like
Yeah.
in the post itself. But anyway, yeah, guards. There's a weaponsmith before they spawn, so they have iron. They have swords at least. Maybe not iron, but once you've unlocked iron, they also have shields and swords. Iron sword. And since there's also a leather worker, they'll also have leather armor. And if you have iron, then that means you also have iron armor and so on. Oh, if you don't have iron, that means they get... If you don't have iron, but you do have a armorer, which is another career of blacksmith, then you can get... how's it called? Chainmail armor on the guards, because it looks really cool. And it's the lowest tier available on the armorer without having to unlock iron. Another thing, the shields have... Each village has its own banner, right? So you can find the banner on some buildings, like on the church.
Could you change the banner?
Maybe if you have the highest popularity available, I think you just place on any banner in the city, and then all of a sudden all the villagers are like, yeah, that's our new banner.
Force a flag referendum. Because, you can make a really good hammer and sickle using the Mojang logo, ironically enough.
Well, if you want to, you can establish communists by being very good at capitalism.
Make a post-scarcity society in Minecraft.
But yeah, the banner is just to give them more their own feel. Each village feels different.
Yeah,
like that.
And they could also have it on their shields and things.
Guards have them on their shields, and
Right.
the armorer and the weaponsmith both can also produce shields with the banner on it. And let's see. Oh yeah, if your popularity is low enough, then iron golems will automatically attack you. You know this, because it's already the case. But the guards will also do the same thing. But if your popularity is high enough, then the guards will actually defend you from any mob, even though they normally only attack zombies, because zombies are the only ones attacking the villagers. They'll also defend you, the player, if you're popular enough in the village. But if you're an absolute monster, they'll just kill you instead. Once again, your choice matter.
That actually sounds really cool if you had some sort of village siege when you're like at really low popularity, and then you just like maybe some villagers could like take you in. They could be like ones that are less picky about who they let. So like if the guards are after you, then you just go into the small little hut and trade with the guy until your reputation slowly starts to go up.
Nice.
Nice.
You can just hide away.
Just retribution arc. Oh yeah, there was this guy who was attacking us before. Oh, look at our economy. This guy comes out. Oh, it's him. Oh, well, I mean, we're all good with him now.
You just go in a house, make a trade, popularity goes up. Oh, okay, everything's good now.
So, yep, we know you're a criminal, but you gave us some sweet carrots.
You did just hit that kid in the face, but then you sold me some carrots. So yeah, everything's good. But if you do a crime, then the guards will also start following you. They won't attack you right away because your popularity isn't low enough. But they will start following you for like 3 minutes. And if you do another crime during this time when they are following you, well then they'll just arrest you. But they don't have a jail, so they'll just kill you and slice you to pieces.
I mean, that's probably the easiest
but
way to put a criminal out of action, eh?
If you do want to continue your criminal path, and you don't want them to follow you for 3 minutes straight, I mean, the law is so tiresome. 3 whole minutes, not being able to murder people. But you can just kind of bribe them, You can just click them with an emerald, and maybe they accept it, and it will raise your popularity. And they'll be on their merry way, away from you.
Turn a blind eye.
But then again, yeah, but they're not all bad cops. Like, there's a chance of a bribe failing. In that case, it will lower your popularity. So, yeah, you can always give it a try.
That actually sounds a really cool thing to do. Just imagine someone playing their world and they're like, should we sneak this guy an emerald?
Let's see. I think that's about everything with the guards.
I think the main problem is potentially is how would you communicate this all to the player? I mean, the player could experiment. They're like, oh wait, oh there's a new villager profession. But do you think there could potentially be a way to egg the player on in the right direction?
Well, I mean, emeralds are pretty straightforward, but it might not be straightforward that you have to click them with it. But there's a small chance. What if you hold a emerald, villagers will just start to look at you. It's a small thing, but
No, it's not.
just like
It's not just about the trades. It's just about the entire construct of how you develop an economy.
oh, I thought it was pretty straightforward. I mean, you give them items, and they'll get items of that tier available.
I suppose. Although you could potentially
It's
make the
pretty
trade
much.
window. You could potentially, maybe in the storeroom, you could have special chests. And there's like a little safekeeper. And if you talk to him, he can show you all the different supplies of things so you can figure out what to do. Maybe he could potentially give you tips, although that might be pushing it.
No, no. I feel like the player has to discover it by himself. It's not too difficult. It's already a much better system than what we currently have, which is just completely random. And the more you trade, the better trades you get from a single villager, but doesn't really impact the village, just the villager himself. Well, this would just be the same. Oh, and going back to the blacksmiths, like I said, you can give him iron and he'll make iron tools. You can give him gold and he'll make gold tools, and give him diamonds, he will make diamond tools. Well, that would leave you with a lot of open tabs. Like you got hoes, shovels, pickaxes, axes for the toolsmith, and then you have also stone, iron, gold, and diamond. So that's a lot of that's 16 tabs. That's just way too much. So instead, he'll be able to sell you each item, and in that tab you also have an option to select what tier you want it to be. So you just click the button and that'll just reduce the amount of tabs available,
That would actually be
which is
pretty
a
good.
lot
I feel
cleaner.
like there should still be a way where you can see how the economy is doing though, and maybe like figure out what you could potentially do next. Like if you did talk to a sort of storeroom or businessman or even a mayor of a village, and he could tell you like just with a little graph or something what the village is short on.
That's difficult to implement, but I don't think it's a bad idea. There should be someone you can just go to, and you can just see the stats of the village. You can see your popularity, and you can see the amount of items of that village. Yeah, could be.
It does actually.
I didn't really think about it. I thought it was straightforward enough, at least.
Yeah, I just can't help but think people will just say, "Oh, cool, you can do stuff with villages," and they won't really grasp the full extent of how things will do it. Like because people are just too used to grinders and farmers, and they might not accept this new way of doing things. So you got to really sell it to them, I think.
That's true. I mean, it's not a bad concept by itself, and it will just work fine. But yeah, if you want people to change their ways of doing things, if they already have a different way of getting the items, then they're not gonna put the time into discovering the village mechanics.
Yeah. Anyway, we've still got a little bit more to talk about, but no time for it here. As well as wrapping up villages, we'll also be talking about how to improve pets in the next podcast, which should be up within a day of this one. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. You can even take part in one of these sessions by joining our Discord server. We also have a subreddit for submitting suggestions and a Twitter page. Until next time, stay abnormal.